just going to dive in. Okay, so Mindset Monday of today is the 5 silent killers in your shuffle journey. I wanted it to be like a really cool title, you know, like a really cutthroat title, because it's kind of true. So we have perfectionism, comparisonitis, self-doubt, not stretching or warming up, and ignoring your body's signs and signals. So a lot of these do kind of like intertwine into one another, but I've separated them because they're all so important to speak about on their own. So the first one that we are going to be talking about, and honestly guys, this can literally just be like life in general. The first 3, like perfectionism, comparisonitis, and self-doubt, like this can be applied to anything in your life. This does not just have to be shuffling. Of course, you know, anything about stretching, whatever is more about shuffling or physical activity, and then ignoring your body signs and signals. To be honest, that could be like a life thing too if we go real deep into it, but we'll see how we feel when we get there. So we're going to start with number 1, okay? Silent killer number 1 is perfectionism. And Hannah Montana nailed this one because nobody is perfect, okay? We are highly relying on Instagram as a source of inspiration for shuffling, and it's so true when people say that like we only post our best moments on Instagram, because I can guarantee that like 95% of shufflers, or just like people in general, okay, influencers, like anybody we look up to, they're only posting the one video that they decided was good enough, probably after facing, you know, self-doubts of their own. And we're not getting to see the other like 2 to 10 videos that never actually made the cut. And I know I'm guilty of both sides of this. I'm guilty of being like, this video is amazing. You know, some people make shuffling look so effortless that you're like, they probably took that in one take and they're just like so amazing. And, you know, why does it take me 15 takes to just get like one good shot? And then you go down that rabbit hole about being super hard on yourself. And as a whole, without even really comparing yourself to the other person, because that'll be our next point, it literally has nothing to do with being perfect. You are never, I can guarantee you guys, I can honestly guarantee you, anything I've ever done in my life that I've gotten relatively good at, you think that you're going to reach this point that's like, you know, I nail everything. Like, I think that's like what we think at the beginning. And it's not true. It's honestly not true. You reach new difficulties, you reach new challenges when you get to that, you know, more advanced level of whatever it is that you're doing. And in a really weird kind of twisted way, the voice in the back of your mind telling you that like you need to be perfect, and the pressure actually gets louder than when you're like a beginner comparing yourself to like, you know, maybe people who've been shuffling for a while. So I'm just gonna answer Aaron's comment real quick. Aaron says, so true. I feel like these are all silent killers of being in alignment and in flow with life in general, but it's so fascinating how it directly applies to shuffling as a, what is that word? Microcosm of that. Jokes. I've seen that word before. Yeah. Shuffling is literally like, I think that's why, you know, obviously it's fun and whatever, and it's a great workout, and I'll insert all the good things here, but it really is a mindset game. It truly is a mindset game, and it is like exactly what you're saying. It's like a micro mirror of like things that we already go through in our day-to-day life. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So this is why, going back to perfectionism, this is why we always say progress over perfection. One of the first Shuffle S.H.R.E.D shirts that I made was the progress over perfection shirt. And it was because that was something, especially at that point in my journey, like that was a really big mantra that I needed to continue telling myself. And I still need to continue telling myself. And I'm sure it's a great reminder for everybody, you know, to hear it at any point in time, because we will always strive for perfection, and I promise you, you're not going to get to perfection, and that's completely fine. That's literally just that's just life, you know? You will, however, get progress. You will get insane progress. But even when you've progressed to such an amazing, advanced, high level, there's still going to be more to progress, yeah? So if you can see 1% of progress each time you shuffle, going back to the 1% rule, You're moving at an incredibly fast growth rate. Like, actually think about that, okay? Even if the 1% is simply just like, maybe you're watching a video back of something that you did, and maybe your initial reaction is to like hardcore criticize yourself, but instead you're just like, okay, you know, I don't really love the way this video turned out. Let me like see exactly what areas I didn't like and how I can improve on those areas. That reaction in itself is progress. Massive progress, okay? That's number one. Number two, if you, let's take that same scenario, and if you see something you don't like in your video, and instead of like beating yourself up over it and, you know, throwing in the towel, you're like, I'm actually gonna like source out the education or the inspiration to like try this move or this combo in a different way, and just like explore my own like education capabilities. That's also progress. These are like tiny moments in time that we overlook so hard because we're waiting for this like big bang type of moment in our progress. Like, hold on, let me space this out here so I don't lose where I am. So something that I used to honestly say it a lot, and there were moments where I truly did feel this, but in hindsight I feel like it was a little detrimental to my own growth. But I used to literally have a session and be like, whoa, I leveled up so hard in that shuffle sesh. And maybe I did, but like, why does it have to be this big monumental, like, I had one sesh that changed it all for me, you know, I hit all the moves, whatever. Like when we idolize those types of progress, we are minimizing all of the smaller types of progress, like the ones that I just explained. And you can have the best freaking shuffle sesh ever. You can have the best sesh you've ever had, ever, and celebrate that. But also know that after that, there might come, you know, we always hit plateaus and we run into difficulties and all of that. So, not like kind of placing all your eggs in that basket, being like, I need to have one big, long, really good, solid sesh to level up. Like, no, you can level up literally 1% at a time every single day. The way you think about your shuffling, the way that you handle your own self-criticism, or maybe the way you like approach making corrections or whatever, those are all opportunities to level up and to make massive, massive progress. Okay? Um, Drop a comment. Let me know how you guys are feeling. Let me know if this resonates with you. So we need to stop looking at progress as this long-term timeline thing and start looking at it in small daily chunks. Because if you're just waiting for the big moment where you feel progress, like, you're going to be waiting forever. You are always going to be in a state where you feel like you can make more progress. I hear the man with the leaf blower coming, and I hope he doesn't come over here. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. So just as an example, small things. So maybe you could only shuffle for like 45 seconds before, and now you shuffled for a full minute without dying. Progress. Maybe you hit a move sharper than you did yesterday. Maybe it's not perfect. You didn't like absolutely nail it, but you're like one step closer. Progress. You danced to a faster song. Progress. Like, absolutely, you know, huge things in small moments. Progress does not have to look perfect. It's not meant to. Progress is messy sometimes. That's why I always tell you guys, like, especially in the lightning round, I'm like, experiment. Do some really weird shit while you're shuffling. Because that's progress. Feeling confident enough to do really weird shit is progress. Trust me. And then, like, what comes out of that is also progress, right? Erin says, I saw something this morning that said how the idea of not being enough at any given point is what keeps you from ever feeling fulfilled, no matter how much progress you make. Letting go of the idea of not being or having enough is tied to being aware of the expectations you're putting on yourself, not ignorantly comparing where you're at to where you want to be as a measure of your inherent value and worth. Ooh, snaps. That's a big, bold statement. And again, huge, like, reflection of life too. Like, when we're trying to strive for a goal in life, you know, not just shuffling, and we're just like consistently just, we are never satisfied with the progress that we have made, and we are placing our value and our worth, kind of like what you said at the end there, on like what we're gonna accomplish next. Like we're totally missing the point. We're totally freaking missing the point. You are never going to feel fulfilled. And that's why, like, talking a little bit about life in general, that's why people do like gratitude practices and stuff like that. It's not just to be like, okay, I'm grateful for the sun, I'm grateful for coffee, whatever. It's to literally understand and realize that probably at one point you asked for what you have now to some degree, number one. Number two, getting super grateful, even if it's not exactly where you want to be, even if it's not your full end result, your be all end all, being where you are right now is a massive stepping stone to get where you want to go in any type of growth journey. So when you recognize and can understand how powerful this exact moment is, even if you're struggling, if you can recognize how powerful this moment is and also actively be working towards where you want to be going, that's a fucking superpower. Like, that's a legit superpower. I did a podcast with Annie Blade. I'm sure a good amount of you know her, but she's a shuffler in the community. She lives in Denver. And she has her own podcast. And she interviewed me, and we were talking about something called Blissful Dissatisfaction. I've mentioned this before, but I'll throw it in again. And Blissful Dissatisfaction basically just means like you are, you know, in a way you're content with where you're at right now, meaning like you're happy with the progress you've made, you are grateful for being where you are right now, and you also have that little like inkling of dissatisfaction where you know that you're continuing to work towards where you want to be. So it's like gratitude for the present while still working on the next best thing. And people who like, you know, manifest things really fast, it's because they're tuned in to like that frequency of being super grateful and also knowing that there's more coming. Not because they're sitting here hating where they currently are and hoping and wishing harder than you are to get to the next phase, the next growth phase. Because if you're sitting here hating where you are, wishing you're going to get to the next growth phase, I can guarantee you when you get to the next growth phase, you're going to feel the exact same way. In shuffling, in life, as a whole. You have to like totally respect the part of the journey that you're on right now and know that it is truly just part of that journey. And I can guarantee that the next phase comes hell of a lot faster than it would if you were like hating on your current state, you know? Super good stuff. See, it's only point one. We're just like down deep into it. Okay, cool. Drop a comment. Let me know how you guys feel. Let me know if that resonates with you. I'm gonna have a coffee. Make sure there's no ants in it. The ants here are like tiny, and you can barely see them. And I'm sure I've eaten a fair amount of them already from them falling in my coffee. Okay, going to number two. So number two is comparisonitis, and we've literally done an entire. I'm pretty sure we did an entire Mindset Monday like back in the day about comparisonitis. I would, if you're watching this on the Facebook group right now, you have access to all of them, so I would scroll back and find it. I'm pretty sure comparisonitis was the title, and we went like really deep into this. So I'm just gonna kind of like segment it a little bit. And if you're watching this and you are not watching it in the Facebook group, so you can't go back, just let me know and I'll send it to you. If that's a Mindset Monday you want to watch, I'll send it to you on Dropbox. Anywho, comparison is the thief of joy. We know this, okay? We know this. It will rob you of your passions, your experiences, and your accomplishments. And I always say this, again, not just in shuffling, but like in life. When you see someone else doing something that you wish you could do, this is in very big quotations, wish, okay? It is a reflection of what's possible for you. Like, period. Point blank. I always, like, this is kind of like, I don't even know. This is kind of like a mind fuck, but like anything that you see in your world, on your social media, anything, like to some degree, it is a reflection of what you can also achieve and accomplish. Like, fact. Okay? So, my suggestion when we are feeling that comparisonitis, and I want to have a disclaimer, what I'm about to say, I don't want this to come from a place of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Ego, I guess. Like, what I was gonna say is like, cheer that person on. Like, let them know that what you think they're doing is amazing, but I don't want this to come from a place of ego. You know, you don't want to have like a fake like comment on someone's video or anything. So I hope that this is like translating to you guys the way that it's coming out of my head. But like, if I were to see one of Leanna's videos, I'm just looking because you commented last. If I were to see one of Leanna's videos and she did something that I was just like, holy shit, like this is honestly unreal. Like this is absolutely amazing. And I feel that comparisonitis starting to creep up, especially because Leanna's someone that I respect and I know works hella hard for her own personal progress. I'm actually going to let her know that she inspired the fuck out of me. And I'm going to be like, this like makes me want to, you know, whether it's work harder or this makes me want to get super dedicated or this just inspires me and like I know that I'm going to get to that point at some point. That's the energy you want to come from. Because not only is this for you, I'm blushing. I do, I really feel that. I feel that about all of you, like at multiple different points, which is super freaking cool to always be inspired by each other. But it just got so dark for no reason. But yeah, and it comes from an energy of like, I know that this is also possible for me. And on the other side of the video, maybe Leanna's sitting there freaking out about her own video and I message her telling her she inspired me, and that like continues the cycle of inspiration. You never know what people are going through behind the videos that they post. I feel like Leanna's someone who always shares her experience, which I love. So maybe this was not a great example because Leanna would be like, I was feeling bad about myself today. And I'm like, you go, girl, share that. Like, people need to hear that stuff. That's why I do the exact same thing. So thank you for being open and transparent about your personal journey. But do you see where I'm going with this? Like, it perpetuates the cycle of just like, we don't need to compare. We can always, you know, ask that person for help or let that person know how amazing you think that they're doing, because it's going to fuel you to just realize that like this is so possible for you, and it's potentially going to help that person if they're kind of going through it on their own, because most of us are. Most of us are not posting videos. We're not taking a video the first take and posting it 15 seconds after. Most people have watched that video 15,000 times, critiqued every little movement, every little this, every little that, and then finally decided to post it and just like said a Hail Mary as they posted it. So you never know how far your comment can go as well, right? Or just a message or whatever. So I totally went off on a tangent there. But at the end of the day, everyone is a reflection of the things that you are able to do in your own life. Fact. Okay, so cheer that person on, encourage them to keep up the good work, and just let it fuel your fire. Let it fuel your freaking fire. So, a couple factors to consider when the comparisonitis is creeping in hard. I have given these factors as a what's the word I want to say? I guess like a practical thing, like a little checklist that you could kind of go through if you're having comparisonitis. So number one is like, just realize that this person is showing you what's possible for you, as I mentioned. Number two, if you feel called, don't ever feel forced, but if you feel called, let them know that they're freaking killing it. Okay? These things are a little bit more practical, and not all of them are like valid all the time, but it's something that I like to consider. So majority of our inspirations have probably been shuffling for a really long time, and that's not always true, but it is a factor to consider. Okay, so I consider how long they've been shuffling. I consider how often do they practice. What are they doing to enhance their shuffle journey? Are they treating this just kind of like, you know, I love doing this, it's my passion, it's my hobby? Or are they doing this for work? Are they doing this, there was another example that I was going to give, and now I've lost it. I got a notification in my ear and I lost it. Oh, I was gonna say, are they doing this because like they're, you know, working out around their shuffling and they're really passionate about this? Maybe they want to be an educator. Maybe they're like, who knows? Who knows what their story is? So how often and how much effort they actually put into that is a big thing, right? Some of us don't have time to practice 5 hours a day every day. Some of our bodies can't handle that, and that's totally cool. We can't compare ourselves to someone who does have that ability, right? Another one is like, how much education do they have under their belt? Having education is not like the be-all end-all, but it does very much come into play, right? Do they have a prior dance background? Like, there's so many different questions that you can ask yourself with when the comparisonitis hits. And, maybe another one is like, how do we know that they weren't struggling to post this? And we're looking at it as their highlight reel, being like, this is amazing. Meanwhile, they maybe beat themselves up over it before they even posted it. Okay, so we make things up in our head. We always make things up, which is so, like, the human mind is crazy. But comparisonitis is no bueno, so try to cut that out. Try to cut that out, or try to at least catch yourself in it and use some of these practices to kind of help you reel yourself back in, okay? Let me know if there's any questions about that. I'm going to move on to number 3. Number 3 is self-doubt. And if we spent half the time celebrating our wins as we do tearing ourselves down, we would probably be much more content in our life. There's so many weird noises here that I'm just like, where is it coming from? Anyways, self-doubt is completely normal, especially when we feel like we're hitting a plateau. I feel like when I get to that self-doubt stage, it's always because, maybe I've had like a really, really good couple weeks in shuffling. I don't know, I'm just making up a number. And then I start feeling like I'm hitting a plateau again. I'm just like, okay. Like, that's when like the voice in my head creeps up, right? So we all know what self-doubt looks like, feels like, everything, so I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I'm going to go into 3 big tips to reverse self-doubt, but to just help you kind of like cope with that self-doubt. So all of the other things that we've mentioned, just remembering that perfection isn't real, remembering that comparisonitis is just never going to help you, and spread that love. And then also going back to watch your old shuffle videos, no matter how far along in your journey you are, and just remember where you started and where you are now. And if you've been shuffling for a month, like, it literally doesn't matter. The time frame does not matter. That's why I always tell people to record themselves, because it's not about posting. It's not about, you don't have to share the beginning awkward parts of your journey, even though I encourage that if you feel like it, and I applaud everyone who does share those aspects of their journey. But like, recording yourself is a really powerful tool for you. It's a really, really powerful tool for you. And going back to watch those old shuffle videos, even if you're not like perfect right now, you're not exactly where you want to be, it's okay. You have progressed. We don't see the progress, especially when we practice pretty often. We don't see the progress. It's like when you're, going to the gym, maybe you're trying to put on some muscle, whatever. If you look in the mirror every single day and you analyze your bicep, trying to like figure out if your bicep has grown, you're probably not going to see it. But if you took a before and after picture after 3-4 months of dedication and hard work, you're going to see it. So it's the exact same thing with your shuffling. We don't notice when we are making that progress, but looking back on however long ago helps us to realize that progress. Okay? The second thing is, for every negative thing you think about yourself, say 2 positive things. And this is not toxic positivity. This is not toxic positivity. This is an actual, method that you can use, and it's not going to make all your problems go away by any stretch, but we literally have to work 2 times harder to think positive than we do negative. It's unfortunate, but as humans, we literally will kind of default to worst case scenario, and we really have to climb that ladder to try to feel positive a lot of the time. And saying 2 positive things is a great way to start having some positive self-talk with yourself, and to also kind of counterbalance, the one thing that we didn't feel was so good. So let's say I criticized my shuffling in whatever way, and then I'll be like, okay, well, maybe that didn't look really good, but you know what, my running man looked super clean today, and I was able to shuffle for longer than I normally would. Done. Done. Okay? You can go on and on and on and on. However, that's a really, really powerful tool. Okay? Another tip for reversing self-doubt is reach out to the group. Like, that's literally what we're all here for. We're here to enhance each other's growth and support one another. And I'm not saying reach out being like, guys, I suck. Like, looking for pity or like looking for compliments, because like no one likes to do that. But it's about getting support from people who have also been there and who go through the same thing often. That's what's really powerful about reaching out to the group. It's not like, hey guys, I had a really shitty shuffle sesh today, and then waiting for everyone's feedback being like, no, you're great. It's literally about someone commenting back, and I know that we will, because that's the type of group we are. Someone will comment back and be like, it's all good. I felt that way last week. You're going to get through it. You're going to get over it. Like, reach out to me if you need anything. We're here for you. Like, that's the type of answer that truly does help us realize that, like, every single person goes through this. And also that we are 157% here for each other all the time, no matter if we're sharing a win, if we're sharing a challenge. Like, we are literally here for you. Okay. Okay, let me drink some water. What is that bug? The bug's here. Something else, you guys. Okay, it went away. Drop a comment, drop an emoji, let me know how you're doing. We got 2 more. These ones aren't as like deep. These ones are more just about listening to your body, which is very important. So let me know how you guys are feeling, then we'll get into the last 2. Okay, number 4, silent killer, is not stretching or warming up. This one is pretty obvious, and I can speak from experience. I used to like half-ass my warm-ups, and it resulted in me getting a pretty bad ankle injury that had me out for like months. And especially at that point in my journey, I was, I had a decent mindset, but I definitely was not as like, my mindset was not as developed as it is now. So I went through this whole giant phase of like, I just missed out on 4 months of progress and like all these terrible negative things, like, why'd you have to hurt yourself, like everyone's progressing, you're just sitting here with an injury, blah blah blah. And I know that a couple of you have had to like sit out due to injuries. We have some students who are we're still waiting for them to join back in because they've had, and not necessarily shuffle related injuries, just other things. And we get into this like downward spiral about it, right? When in reality, like, a lot of things, not everything, but a lot of things could be avoided just by like warming up properly and stretching, right? So your body goes through a lot as a shuffler, and it's imperative that you are treating it properly and caring for it. We are freaking athletes. Yeah, Jenny, I know you do. And honestly, like, Jenny says I take warm up and cool down very seriously too. I honestly wish that I could have a longer time in the Shuffle S.H.R.E.D classes, because I would love to do an even deeper, more thorough warm up and cool down. But we all know how freaking long classes end up going, because once I get on a ramble with education, plus obviously the time to shred, So yeah, if you're someone who really needs that extra little bit of warm up and cool down, I think it would be even a good idea for everyone to do a little bit before and after we start class, just to add on to the base warm up and cool down that we do. It's only going to help, it's only going to benefit you, it's only going to enhance your performance for that day and enhance your recovery afterwards, right? So we are freaking athletes, and I can guarantee you that no Olympic runner is training without warming up or stretching at some point, and you shouldn't either, because we're athletes, like, point blank, okay? Jenny says it's not worth the risk to skip it. I agree. Trust me, if you have time to shuffle, you have time to warm up and cool down. Like, you do have time for it, okay? Number 5, and this kind of plays off of the last point about how much we put our bodies through. Number 5 is ignoring your body's signs and signals. Shuffling is not easy on the joints and muscles, and we have to realize that pain is a signal, okay? If your body is so freaking exhausted, don't push it. Just rest. Like, listen to it. Like, if your body feels just so heavy that you're like, holy shit, I kind of felt like that yesterday. I literally did not move. Like, I was horizontal all day. If you feel any sort of pain, don't push it. do not push it. It's not cool to dance on an injury, and I wish someone had told me this sooner, because I was so caught up in my head. It was like a progress thing for me, as I was mentioning, that I was like, oh, well, if I don't continue dancing, then um, I'm going to be missing out on progress. So I literally pushed myself to dance with my injury, which made it worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, okay? We only get one instrument to shuffle with. Our body is the one instrument and the one tool that we have to do this with. And we need to take it seriously, even if it means like having a little bit of FOMO, you know, fear of missing out, and having to sit out from time to time. Like, I know that that's not fun. I honestly know it's not fun. I'm supposed to be taking a class after this, and I honestly can't do it because I need to, you know, make sure my body feels good to actually go into art class today, later today. So, and I have FOMO, trust me. I wish I could be there, but it's not worth it. And thankfully, all of our classes are recorded, so you can catch up later, right? Like, it's not ideal, and I know that if you have the time and maybe you have like the mental energy, but your body is telling you otherwise, like the desire to jump into a live class and like try to push yourself is there, but it's just not worth it. You can come sit in the live class and just hang out with us and vibe to some music, but like do the actual class later when your body feels good. Okay? So just some basic tips to care for your body, aside from obviously stretching, warming up, cooling down, all that. Continue an exercise regime to build strength, because also part of the reason that I was injured is because my ankles were just being put through a lot, and I wasn't like actually strengthening them the way that I could have been, and the way that I really highly want to and do now. Okay. Salt baths, taking salt baths. Oh, I wish I had a bathtub here. I freaking miss my salt baths. However, I'm literally in the ocean all the time, so like that's like the saltiest salt bath you could ever take. So I guess I'm still doing it. But it makes a huge difference. Being really hydrated, like drink yo freaking water. Okay, being really hydrated, resting, of course, getting really good sleep, and foam rolling. Foam rolling is something that really, really, really helped me. And I don't have a foam roller here, and I'll probably try to look for one at some point once we get more into like a main town, because it changed the game for me, especially with my like thighs, my IT, like everything in the side of my leg, my hips, all of that. Like foam rolling helped like crazy. So I always suggest it. If you go on the Shuffle S.H.R.E.D YouTube channel, there's a like lower body foam roll routine that I personally like to do. You can like do it on your own. I need accountability because foam rolling kind of hurts. Um, but yeah, those are just some tips to help you take care of your body, because we only have one of them, and we only get, you know, one opportunity to make sure that it feels really good. So I'm gonna read the comments in a second, but I just want to wrap it up a little bit. But that's basically it. And these are 5 silent killers that we all go through, and we basically just have a choice of how much we let these silent killers affect us. You know, the ones that are a little bit more mental, like the first 3, we have a choice of how much these affect us. We also have a choice in the final 2 that I just listed that are a little bit more physical. We have a choice to ignore our stretching and warming up. We have a choice to ignore our body signs and signals. And that means we also have a choice otherwise. And I know most of